Meeting is being recorded.
Ah, there we
Oh,
go.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it
The
goes.
AI
Yeah.
lady has spoken.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you want to drive, Miguel?
For starting, it's important to present to people. So, Scott, can you tell us about you, who you are?
Okay. Yeah, well, I've been basically a software guy my whole life. So even in like late high school, But anyway, just yeah, I've always been a software guy, and I've kind of gravitated towards sort of smaller and smaller, environments. Like when the Palm Pilot came along, I was way into those. And then when Android came along, I got straight into Android. So yeah, but basically embedded kind of was a thing that developed probably in the last 6 odd years or so. So yeah, embedded probably like so many other people. I literally just tinkered, just tinkering in Arduino and all of that. And then I tinkered with LoRa, and then I just started to think, oh, I wonder if I could do a mesh network. So it basically started like that. And then I don't know, as maybe some people know, then I tried my whole Ripple line of stuff. And yeah, it was sort of decent, but it had a lot of limitations. But the probably the really big thing, I guess, was entering into MeshCore, where it was literally I just decided to actually abandon in a way Ripple and rethink the whole thing. I just wanted to start from scratch and learn from not just Ripple, learn from Meshtastic, and think, all of the mistakes that were made, and okay, how could we do it differently? So, and it was also in light of Reticulum as well. Like I'd been trying to get my head around Reticulum, and there was stuff that I really thought was brilliant in that, and so there were things that I wanted to try with probably like all of the hashes. Like it's amazing what you can do with truncated hashes. All of the little crypto magic things you can do. So yeah, so basically, yeah, so it's been the last year and a bit, MeshCore. So that's me.
So, and Lime, what about you? And I know you already done many other things with meshes, but can you tell us about it?
Yeah, cool. So, for those who don't know me, I'm Liam Cottle, software engineer here in Gisborne, New Zealand. Very sunny place here, although today it's pouring down with rain.
Yeah.
So I'm an amateur radio operator as well, call sign ZL2DEV, DEV on the end, software developer. Thought that was quite a cool little thing there. I've been in the software space for probably 15 or so years. Started tinkering around with original HTML websites when I was 5 or so. At primary school there, and get into high school and started tinkering around with Android applications. And I've been building Android apps for a very, very long time. And in the recent years, getting into cross-platform development with iOS applications and web applications. I've done a lot of web software, and also working in the embedded hardware space now with the MeshCore team here and Scott and Co. And yeah, get into building custom PCBs and stuff. And obviously, as you know, I've been working in the reticulum space as well. Built that mesh chat application with all the fun mesh networking there and comms over Reticulum. It was a very, very interesting project to me, the Reticulum project, and there's definitely been a lot of little bits pulled out of there and copied into how we're doing things with MeshCore there. A few years ago, I got into the Meshtastic stuff as well. The Meshtastic and Reticulum was sort of my entry point into mesh networking, and where I started building upon. Um, Sort of getting into the emergency management space as well, with some of the local council people here building emergency text networks, and finding problems in the existing mesh networks, and then came across MeshCore and was like, this is the way that this is sort of structured and how it sends packets around. I was like, this is very interesting. I want to put some time into this, and yeah, it's exploded in popularity in a very short time frame, and it seems to be well liked and seems to be doing the job. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Let me pick up on something that you already said. That there was some problems, or there are some challenges in all networks because nothing is perfect. And I think that was those challenges that led Scott to do something different. Scott, can you comment on that? I think MeshCore borns because there are something else to do. Someone had to do it. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to actually really sort of articulate like what the goals were, because I think it was only partially formed in my head when I actually started writing the first version of the GitHub library. But I think it was mostly like I sort of wanted to do a very, very like LoRa first mesh network. So there were things that I liked about Reticulum, but I thought it's very heavy, and I thought essentially something that would you could put on a tiny little microprocessor. I think that was in the back of my head. That was a goal. Like you shouldn't have to have a Raspberry Pi, for instance. So just very, very lightweight, but in a way just the minimum sort of cryptography and stuff to just be to have reasonable secrecy, reasonable privacy, because I know the security experts can find multiple things that they would love to improve, etc. But for just things that are practical, you've got to make trade-offs all the time. So it was like, I think the first one was actually with identity, to have just a 32-byte public key, not a key, a pair of key pairs that like Reticulum has. Yeah, so to be able to sign and encrypt with the same key, I thought, okay, that's a good enough compromise, and it saves so much bandwidth and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it was just how can we make it fast, lightweight, cheap, free, et cetera. Anyone can just use stuff that's probably already in their drawer. Yeah, so I think that was probably mostly it. Yeah.
But Scott, but your idea here was to build the library, or was to because if we look at the source code, right? We have the core library that is MeshCore, so the protocol itself. But what is funny in the end of the day, or makes a little bit of questioning, is all the applications that we use, including the chat application, they are in the example folder. Right?
The example to the world.
Sorry, Liam, did you want to say that?
Oh, just that was always something that I found funny as well, is that it was sort of beginning as a library, but the examples that are in there became the actual thing that took off.
Yeah, but I think it's more that I saw one of the primary mistakes of Meshtastic is in the code base, was that it's a monolith, and trying to separate the parts is very hard, and I assume that's what most developers find as well. So I thought library first, and here's how you do messaging, here's how you do a sensor, that sort of thing.
What do you feel it's the core purpose of MeshCore? Is have only a new mesh network, and then we'll see how it gets? Or is something more serious, as it is actually an alternative for emergency communications, or something that the radio guys, they want to communicate, and that's the way, because it's a free band and so on.
Liam could probably take that up, because he's actually more involved in more of the use cases of MeshCore. than me.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
mm.
I thought I was going to get that question. I was going to hand it to you since you're the creator, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah, so I do a lot of work with the emergency management guys here, and what they want is something that is a backup that works when everything else is kind of obliterated, right? Like you can build these low cost solar powered repeaters, and you can plonk them on a hill. You don't have to buy a $10,000 repeater. You can build it out of really cheap parts, and you've got a messaging network, your little microcontrollers you can kind of just hand out. It's all license free, ISM bands and that, so you don't have to go and sit an exam. I guess the way that I see it is it's something cheap. It's reliable as much as we can make it with the limited bandwidth. Um, I don't know what the main goal of MeshCore. It's a good one to ponder, I suppose. There's so many different use cases that you could use it for. It's the core of the mesh.
So I think people will find the use for it. I just wanted to know what was your vision. But I think that we are aligned, that there was a good project at first, and then now it's proving to be a good project, but exactly where it's going to be at the end, we don't know. It's like we are in the journey, and the good
Yep,
is the journey.
yep. I feel that everything evolves over time. I
Yeah.
guess my personal goal with the project is reliable messaging that you can just use every day without having to pay subscription fees.
How do you see Portugal and MeshCore in Portugal? Because we are here, we know, but what's the vision of the other guys that are there? Well, there is a country there, Portugal, doing things, and some of them are different, but
Oh well, I know that you guys have put in a lot of work. You've got a whole website dedicated for your native language with documentation. You guys have also done the translations. Oh, and the corner here has done translations for the MeshCore app to make it much easier to onboard people in your country. You also developed the bridge software there to
yeah.
be able to link across different frequencies. So that's really interesting to me, being able to go from one little network that's sort of limited in where it is, and being able to bridge across to other ones where other radio settings would be more beneficial in a different area. Avoid interference and bridge them across.
One thing that Portugal wants to know, well, I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. I hope it didn't change that. The philosophy of one of it in MeshCore, it's independent from the internet. No internet, only radio frequency. And in my opinion, it should stay that way. That's one of the core advantages. So I think it's good for the people in Portugal to hear from you if that is true. Only radio frequency, right?
Yep.
Can you show that?
100%. Yeah,
This is
yeah. Oh, yeah. We push back on. It comes up pretty regularly. There's all sorts of people like they'll say, "Oh, I can't find the MQTT checkbox," and we go, "No, it's not there." Yeah, but we're always pushing back on that one, and it's sort of part and parcel. Like there's like problems with bots, and bots only. That problem only gets worse if they can, be in the cloud somewhere. But yeah, 100%. Just want to keep it, because it's not going to be resilient if it has a dependency on the internet. So
that was definitely a cool thing for me as well. Is it's not on the internet, because the entire point of it is an off-grid network, right?
Yeah.
Is you go and deploy the solar repeaters, it works. If someone bridges in the internet and you're like, wow, I'm connected to these countries, oh, I've been bridged over here, it's all working. The internet goes out, boom, your whole network's dead. And it's like, well, the whole point is it works as its own thing. So once you start allowing internet bridging, it like Scott said, you start getting bot problems, and then the traffic ramps up, and how do I block that? And then you go down the whole censorship road, and we don't want that. So I mean the bridge implementations and stuff where you've got two different hardware nodes that are bridged with a physical cable to each other, that's different, right? It's literally physical hardware that's right there, and that's fantastic. I just don't
Well,
want to see MQTT overwhelmed and cause problems.
well, actually, this is funny because when I did the bridge implementation, I had this in the back of my mind, right? Because we already saw some previous issues in the GitHub repository. People asking, "Oh, why don't you connect this to MQTT or whatever?" So when I did the implementation, I said, "Okay, I will start with serial." And then I extended to ESP now because there is no, it's not a
That's
TCP/IP.
all
Because
direct.
if, yeah, if we will open the gates, it's, yeah.
This is open source, the libraries and so on. But there are some apps and there are some parts of it that are paid. It's like a freemium. For me, it's good. That's it. But I want to hear from you. What's the philosophy? So it is still continue to be open source. I think it will be forever open source. But there are some parts of it, and it's logic because someone is doing the software and it's entitled to have to earn some money. Just wanted to hear it from you and what's your envision.
Yeah, that was right from the start. I wanted interoperability, so that meant an open core library, but that I'm really pro individual, and I'm kind of anti corporation, and I think individuals should. Like I sort of bemoaned the death of the ISV, for instance. Like, it's almost impossible for a ISV to flourish these days. There's just big players, but things that reward individuals, I'm for. And so I honestly think there's practically not many ways to reward an individual unless you do some closed source premium thing that you're adding value and saying, look, and mostly from, obviously we don't get to control any of the efforts, but try to suggest that the basics of it is free, but if you want nice bells and whistles, then you literally, it's something you'd pay for a coffee, for God's sake. It's not much. So
Yeah, that's it.
Just a follow-up question on this, because for some time, if we follow the either the Discord or GitHub, there is this V2. So people speak about, MeshCore V2, the protocol V2, right? And one of the things that were pulling into this direction was the ID. So 1 byte ID was not enough, and you have a bigger network. Now you have somehow solved this problem with allowing to have 2 bytes or 4 bytes for the IDs. So my question is, should we still expect a V2? And if we do, what would be let's say, the biggest difference from what we have today?
So I suppose my personal opinion on a V2 is it's probably not something we need immediately. Like we've solved the 2 byte ID sort of stuff that you touched on there in a way where it was semi backward compatible in the sense where 1 byte still works with old 1 byte firmware. Whereas if we did shift to a V2, anyone on V2 with 1 byte IDs would not be able to message anyone on V1 firmware with 1 bytes because the packet headers would just reject it. So being able to find that little bit in the packet header there to make it work with multi-byte pathing and all that sort of stuff, I think that really solved that problem quite nicely. And if people really want the more observability, cool, you can push the 2 bytes up. If you don't need it, you run on your defaults and you get more hops. You can go further across the country and all of that. Yeah.
We are approaching the end, but there is a question which is a simple question, but it's good to know from your side how can you respond to this so simple question. What makes MeshCore fundamentally different than other mesh networks? It may seem so stupid, but it's so simple. But for sure, you can say something that this is different because we have what?
it's a tough one.
It's a simple one.
It's hard to distill it into something that, gosh, because there's so many, I guess. Which, like, I guess probably I don't know, there's sort of boring ones, like, it can run on very, very small hardware. Very robust, very the just works aspect is I think I sort of underestimated how important that was going to be, that it just works, and that there was going to be this mushrooming of adoption almost on the back of that entirely.
Liam, what about you?
The big one for me really was the pathing with how routes and stuff work across the network. Like in the sense of a traditional internet sort of network, you bounce between specific routes and your BGP and all that sort of stuff. And so using the same similar sort of ideas with you bounce through those specific repeaters only. You don't have to light up the whole network. Makes it so much more reliable, and the messages just get through. If the messages don't get through, it's a physics problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I will answer this question also, Miguel. But I think it's about it's in the right spot where it's easy for any person to get in and to use, right? But you also have this observability part that even for the technical guys, they can really see, oh, where is my mesh reaching? Where is it going? What is the path? So I feel it's the right balance between the two things.
So simplicity and observability. Those are two big ones. Being able to debug your own mesh without it sort of being in your face, like, oh, you have to see all these technical details all of the time. Like,
right.
With the mobile app, I try and focus on a minimal user interface. Like, get rid of all the distractions. If you really want to drill down into what is happening, it's a couple of taps away, and you can see everything. One thing that I'm wanting to implement in the future for the mobile app, which touches on those 2 bytes and 3 byte path things, is getting a map view into the path viewer, so you can see visually on a map where your message is pinging through. Because at the moment, you just see a list of names.
You're right.
Okay, I think I can answer my own question. Because that's the way I'm selling it in Portugal. Now it's more easy because there is the community, the website, the group. But at first there was nothing about that. And what I told people, it's very simple but very effective. One is that setup is very simple. You just flash the radio, you choose the profile for Portugal, and then you put the name on it. That's it. So that's the first thing as well. So easy. No menus, no configurations. This is it. And then it will work or it will not. But you don't have the doubt if I did something wrong. No. Profile, name, it works. And that is very important because people try to receive message, send message, and if it works, good. If it doesn't work, the next step is, okay, I'm getting outside of my house to pick some network. It should be some repeater out there. And then the guy can do that because in certain places there are. The next step is, okay, now to solve the problem with my house, I'll do a repeater, which is the same hardware with different firmware, slightly complicated, but still simple. And then the guy do it. And it works. And then it will say the same to his neighbor and the other. So simplicity is one of the things. The other thing that I noticed since the beginning, it may be strange that it's different from being in my sites than the developer, is that there were no beta versions. So since the beginning, we had this firmware software version, and it worked. And the next version is not correcting bugs. Well, sometimes it corrects 1 or 2 bugs, but it was implementing new features. And there were so many versions at first. I said, well, this is really working, because one thing is to know, well, MeshCore born, it will be a good thing, but maybe it will take 1 year. No, it was so fast, and with not beta versions or alpha versions, nothing. You just install it, and it works. The other thing that people love is that only radio frequency. So there are not much networks that is not radio frequency only. When I was trying reticulum, it was in the computer, of course, but I wanted to put in the radio. I have a network in radio, but it's still connected with the computer. And one day I did something wrong. I connected with a different server in the UK or something, and then all that traffic was flooding Portugal, and the guys didn't know how it was happening, and they said, "Well, unfortunately, it was me. I didn't know. I will disconnect this because it was a mess." So by being only radio frequency, it's really, really important. That's completely different. Another thing that it's simple, but people like that, is that you send a message and you say deliver. The message is there in the destination. What's the point on sending a message if you don't know if the message reached the destination? And that is it's a good selling aspect of it. Well, you send a message, see it's delivered, the message is there. I'm not sure if they're going to read it, but it's there. So small things that, of course, it was in your mind when you developed this, but people now understand that these small points makes a very huge project and very reliable. So I answered my own question, but I think I answered it well.
Yeah, but it's funny because I don't know no one that came from other mesh network that used MeshCore and said, "Oh, I don't like this." No one. So
No.
That's fantastic feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, where do you see MeshCore in the next 5 years? What will happen? What do you expect to happen?
It's a tough one. It's actually hard to see past this year.
I guess one thing that's going to be an interesting avenue to pursue in the coming times is there's some new LoRa chips. These I think they're LR 2021s or something along those lines, where they can listen to multiple spreading factors and stuff at the same time. So I feel like that could open up some very, very interesting techniques with repeaters and even the companions, where wow, there's so many different things that we could do with that.
yeah.
So I feel like something will happen with those in the future. Frequency hopping, that could also lead to, getting the congestion issues solved would make this even crazy more scalable.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same. I think the LR 2021 is it's something that I really desperately want to get something like a month of like telling no one to contact me and literally
a couple.
Yeah, and just literally experimenting with the LR 2020 and just seeing, okay, what are the physical limits or capabilities of this thing, and then what can we take advantage of in, and I don't know, it could be a bit of a what's the word, can't think of it, but I kind of suspect the V2 protocol will be essentially around multi-SF, so that the LR 2021 can do. So yeah, literally where the mesh can be, I kind of envisaging it as layers. You can have like a multi-layered mesh, and nodes can be, popping and pushing stuff up and down the layers. But yeah, it's something that's going to need a lot of thought. But yeah, it's exciting. Like what that could look like could be pretty, it could look like night and day compared to what we're using now. So yeah, watch this space.
Okay. And finally, well, what kind of message you say you can send to Portugal, the Portuguese people? We are early adopters on many things. We are a small country, which is good for some developments, and people have embraced this project, well, completely. What can you say? Well, they are here. Well, cannot talk to you, but they are hearing you.
I guess
What
the
can you
first
do?
thing from me is thank you for all coming on this journey with us and putting all in the effort that you guys have done to help us grow and improve on MeshCore. The bridge features, fantastic. Working on the translations to get the mobile app more usable, user-friendly for your community. I think that's fantastic. I'm sure we're gonna see things grow rapidly more in the future. New things coming out. We don't know what those are yet, but thank you for being here with us. Also, thanks for chatting with us today. Fantastic.
Yep, I'll just repeat that same. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for jumping on the MeshCore train. Yeah, it's really quite humbling how it's taken off, and the spirit of most people that get into it as well. We're always nicely surprised that it's really good people, really, freedom oriented, and yeah, it's doing stuff for your group and resilience and all of that. So it's really good to see that that's spreading.
Well, we are in the opposite side of the earth. You're in Australia.
It's right. Yeah.
But you are welcome to come to Portugal next time or on vacation. You should know Portugal. It's good for vacation, at least. So you're invited. Or next time you have to go to Australia. We don't know, when you
Come to New Zealand too.
Yeah.
Okay.